I'm so excited to be here with y'all. So I say y'all because I'm actually from Texas. So I flew in from Texas. So Houston, Texas, but Idaho has my heart. I was born in Pocatello, and my husband and I met in Rexburg, Idaho, and I have moved a billion times. So my husband and I have been married 11 years. We've moved 11 times, and I moved every 2 years, going to 4 different high schools and living all over the country. So the place that I've lived the longest is actually Rexburg, Idaho. And so Idaho will always have my heart, and I'm so very grateful to be standing in front of you guys today, because the truth is I really shouldn't be. So I'm going to take you guys back to 19-year-old Bianca. Now, at the time, I was living in Dallas, Texas, and I was making the drive. I made it every single semester I went to BYU, Idaho, from wherever I was living up to BYU, Idaho. And at 19-year-old Bianca was driving through Farmington, New Mexico, if anyone knows where that is. And as I was driving through Farmington, I had my best friend in the seat next to me, and we were singing probably a Justin Bieber song, living life, excited to get back up to college. And a man named Charles decided to drive drunk that night. And Charles decided to run a red light, where I then proceeded to T-bone him going over 70 miles an hour. Now, in this moment, have y'all ever heard the saying, your life flashes before your eyes? So I'd heard that, but I never truly understood it until it quite literally did. Now, I can remember specifically the airbag going off, which if anyone has had an airbag hit you in the face, that's sometimes the worst part of the crash, with the powder and the airbag hitting you. But what I remembered next was a series of questions. It was almost as if my life was like on this reel, and I was looking back at the 19 years that I lived. And the very first thought that came to mind in this exact form was, who am I going to meet? And I thought that in just that phrase, who am I going to meet? And I can sadly stand before you today and say that 19-year-old Bianca didn't know who she was going to meet. I wasn't living a life I was proud of. I wasn't doing things I was proud of, and I wasn't living to my full potential. The next question that I asked was, did they know that I loved them? Now, who did I mean by they? That was my family and my close friends. And sadly, I stand before you today to tell you that my family did not know that I loved them. And in that moment, all I wanted to do was call my dad. See, my son, I have 2 boys, and my oldest calls me bougie. And in the back seat of my car, I had a bunch of bougie things, purses, shoes. I always liked nice things. And do you think I cared about what was in my back seat when I hit that car? No. All I wanted to do was call my dad, because I never told my parents that I loved them. I mainly told them I was annoyed with them, let me do what I want. I wasn't really close to my siblings. Didn't really have any relationship. My social status was the most important thing for my life at 19 years old. And then the very next question that I thought was, oh my gosh, my bucket list. I was always ambitious, so I had all these things that I wanted to do and accomplish before I kicked the bucket. Who in here has a bucket list? Yell some things out from your bucket list. What do you guys want to do? Go to Australia. Visit Hawaii. Get a master's. See, so there's all of it. Is that what he said? Go to the master's. Oh, see, that's just as important. So there you go. All these things are amazing things. But how foolish are we to think that we have time to accomplish all these things? And I don't mean to get dreary, but when your life is literally flashes in front of your eyes, you realize that we think we have this timeline. Like, you think you have tomorrow. I think I have tomorrow, but we don't. None of us in here have a tomorrow. Absolutely none of us in here do. And some will say, oh, Bianca, that's so sad. Why do you think that way? And that's what I'm going to present to you today, is what this wake-up call did for me. And I hope that today you don't have to go through the 2 wake-up calls that I'm going to be sharing with you today that I've gone through to make me accomplish my bucket list by the time I was 30, to make me travel to over 35 countries, to do things that I never thought were possible. And it was all because of that car crash at 19 that led me to a very moment like this. In South Sudan, Africa, swimming in the Nile River with the local children.
Ready?
Hi. How are you?
Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10?
5.
Okay, 10. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's cold. It's cold.
It's warm.
Now, they speak Dinka, so they didn't speak English, so I don't even know if they understood the numbers I was saying. But I proceeded to do this for 45 minutes. But an important part of this is how in the heck did I get to Africa? And what was I doing there at 23? And why was I swimming in the Nile River? Because that was always a goal of mine. Now, I'm going to step into and tell you how I started my company. But before I get to that, I had a client. I own a marketing and advertising agency for 12 years now, which I started after my wake-up call. And I had a client one day that said, Bianca, I want to go to Africa. And I said, oh my gosh, his name was Darren. I said, Darren, I want to go to Africa. It's on my bucket list. Now, all of us do this. We say, we're going to put this goal, we're going to make this timeline, we're going to put this vision board. I have nothing against vision boards, but I have something against the timeline because you think you have all this time and you don't. So if you live with urgency, how quickly would you accomplish your bucket list? How quickly would you accomplish all those things you want to do in your business? Darren told me, I want to go to Africa. 2 months later, we were in South Sudan, Africa, not with an established nonprofit, not with this whole group. I didn't call Save the Children. We made our way to Africa. And how I got there was by finding people that were doing work in South Sudan that I wanted to do. And I started cold calling, cold emailing, reaching out to people and representatives that I saw that were there. And 2 months later, I made my first of multiple trips to South Sudan, which completely changed my life. This photo right here, I'm actually standing on top of in a graveyard, on top of gravestones. These children live in a cemetery. They live in a graveyard. They sleep on headstones. This is what accomplishing your bucket list with urgency looks like. Because when we think we have time, we don't actually accomplish all the things that we're destined to do and things that we want to do. Now, how do you live urgently? I'm one of those people that when I leave a conference, I need action steps. Like, you need to tell me exactly what to do. So my first thing is to stop waiting. Stop waiting. I was just talking to Ryan before this, and we were talking about how we're visionaries, but sometimes we need to focus so much more on the execution, what does execution look like? It's to stop waiting and to start doing. This picture was taken in Rexburg, Idaho. This was my first office, and I'm holding up a 1 because this was my first year in business. I own a company called VoxxVoice, which I started almost 12 years ago today. And you could see on my wall, I had taped up all the different places that I've traveled to, the different things I've done, the different companies I've been with. And this was 1 year in. But I started my company on a lie. So hang with me here, because I really did lie to start this company. So when I graduated college, I was offered a job to work and do the PR for the Kansas City Royals. I had done 5 internships by the time I left BYU, Idaho, and worked with very massive companies. And because I was living with urgency. I wanted to experience the world. I wanted to do all things. And those 5 internships led me to an amazing offer to work with the Kansas City Royals. But at the time, I was dating my now husband, who still had time left in Rexburg, Idaho. And he quite literally told me that he wasn't going to move to Kansas, even though he would have got all the perks to go to all the sports things. And he said he needed to finish his degree and stay in Rexburg. And my dad asked me that night, why don't you start a company? And through college, I had started so many different businesses. What got me through college was actually a party business. I threw parties at college. You can see why I never wanted to graduate. And then I started a supplement company, which failed. I called it Driven. I did pre-workouts, proteins. I tried to sell all these things. And it was the biggest lesson that I ever learned starting that company, because I stopped waiting and I started, even though I failed. And it brought me to my now company, VoxxVoice, which I started, and I put up this website, and it was just like a single page. It looked horrible when I think back to it, because I didn't build websites. I just threw one up there. And this was pre-AI, okay? 12 years ago. I put up this website, and I'm like, everybody's gonna come. Everyone is gonna come. They're all gonna want me. Like, I'm a one-woman show. They're gonna wanna use VoxxVoice. What do you think happened? Nobody came. Nobody came running. So I did what all people do. I went to Craigslist. I'm serious. That's where I got my first client, was through Craigslist. Back then, people would put ads and they would say, needing a marketing person. And there was a company. Who in here knows what SWPP means? SWPPP, Stormwater Prevention Pollution Plan. I had no idea what that meant, but this guy named Jim Malone had an ad out saying he needed a marketing manager, and I went, emailed him, said, I'm here to do marketing. I go to his office, and he tells me that he needs this custom website build with all these customizations, all these different things. Remember, pre-AI. And I said, yes, I will do it. I ran home that day, and I told my husband and my dad, I got my first client, and they said, oh my gosh, what are you gonna do? I'm coding. And they looked at me and they said, you're coding? You don't even know how to code. I spent the next 32 days learning how to code, and now code in over 14 languages. I became a coder, even though that's not what I did. And that's what catapulted my business to go and work with companies and industries all over the world internationally. And I've been able to do so many marketing campaigns because of that. But why? Because I stopped waiting. I lied. But I believed in myself, and I knew that if I had the opportunity, I would be able to go and do it. Now, the next thing, do it scared. So, first thing I'm gonna share, so I actually wrote a book. I have 2 boys. This is my oldest, laying right here, Landon. They're my pride and joy. And I have a 16-month-old baby, Carson. Now, big age gap, 9, 16. Brought me to my knees to go back to baby, because life was good before baby came along. I love him to death, though. Those first 8 months of running a company with a newborn baby was brutal. There were nights that it brought me to my knees that I didn't think I could do it. And I had this thought, write a book. Start writing your feelings down. And I thought, write a book. I'm not a writer. I can talk all day, but when I put pen to paper, it just doesn't work for me. In 8 months, I wrote a book. 8 months of writing my heart and soul into a book of what is going to launch this year. And I had 6 different publishers that wanted to publish my book. And it all came from a thought of, I thought I wasn't an author, but I stopped waiting, and I did it, and I did it scared, and I did it imperfectly. And I signed with Penguin Random House, which was like a dream publisher company, and they're going to be publishing this in 16 languages. I did that so scared, and yet it's coming out. Now, the next story was my second wake-up call, and the most emotional for me, one of my trips to South Sudan, Africa. If any of you guys understand Africa or South Sudan at all, it's a very war-torn country and very scary, and my husband and my family, nobody wanted me to go, and I went multiple times and stayed for a month one time. And let me paint a picture, because let me describe what this third world airport looks like. So we go in, we put our bags on a thing. It says the weight, right? Who in here remembers those scales where you like hang something and then it's like a thing goes up and down like this and it tells you? Do you guys remember those scales, old school? That's what the scale at the airport looks like. And then it's like a shack behind you. The airport itself looks like a shack. And on the sand, it says plane 1, plane 2, plane 3, plane 4, plane 5, plane 6. 6 different planes, and they're all rickety, rackety planes. And on this trip in particular, I was with 4 people. It was me and 2 other guys and 1 other woman, and we all were not, like I said, I wasn't going with a nonprofit specifically. We were going to just help the country. And we were going to board this plane. The person looked at us and said, you guys go to plane 2. So they point over to the sand, say, you guys go to plane 2. I start walking over with my group to plane 2. And as I approach the plane, 2 men with AK-47s come and put the gun right in my face. They say in English, not you. Now, we all have these moments in life where you think, I'm gonna be the hero. Like I do this, where I picture if someone's gonna run in, I'm like, I'm gonna save the world, I'm gonna do everything. But what do you think I did in that moment? With an AK-47 in my face and them telling me, not you. Do you think I punched them? No. Do you think I said, excuse me, like I'm going in? No. I froze. I was numb, and it was like my life flashed in front of my eyes again, especially when the man looked at me and said, you're going over there. And I looked to the distance, and there's a truck with 6 men and more guns. And they tell me to go get in the truck. And I'm 24 at the time. And I look to the truck, and I look to my group, and a fight brawls out with the 2 men that I was with, and the woman screaming like, why is she being told to go there? But you can't do much when you have a bunch of guns around you. And so I stood there numb and started to slowly walk over to the truck. Now, an important part of this story is a week prior, who here gets impressions of things to do in your business, things to do with your family, things to do with your life? An impression quite literally saved my life. A week prior to this trip, I had this feeling to learn Dinka. Now, I was already going to Africa. I was already there. I don't know why I had this impression to learn Dinka, but in my notes app today, I have a bunch of words and phrases in Dinka that I had spent talking to the people, talking to my group, of trying to learn it. And as I walked over to the truck, looking back at the airplane, thinking I will never see that group again. I will never see my family. And to be quite honest, I didn't want to think about what was about to happen to me if I got to that truck. I had a second impression, and it overfilled my heart and my stomach, and I feel it right now as I stand before you today, and it said, speak Dinka. I got into the truck, and I looked over at the driver, and he started driving away, and I looked at him and said a few words and a few phrases in Dinka that I can't even remember exactly what I said today. And as he kept driving, as I kept trying to speak, and who knows what I even was saying, but whatever it was, it made him stop. He quickly stopped the truck, and he looked over at me and he said, you speak my language. And I looked at him and I said, yes, I'm here to help your people. I'm here to help your country. The next few moments felt like the longest moments of my life as they kept driving, and then all of a sudden he decided to turn around, and he dropped me off back at plane 2, where he said, get out. And I boarded that plane. Now, in that moment, I thought, I can't ever come back. I can't ever do this again. What am I doing? I'm so grateful that nothing happened, that I was able to actually arrive back. But I made a choice that day that I was going to still come back and do it scared. That I was going to continue to help the people of South Sudan and the people of Africa, and I even went to Ethiopia, and I went to so many more countries, even though that very moment quite literally could have taken my life. But I decided to continue to do it scared. Now, the very last point, which is probably my favorite point of all on how to live urgently, is to say it now. Now, going back to the first story with the car accident, what did I say I wanted to do? I wanted to call my dad. So I'm going to do something that every speaker says don't do. I want you to take out your phones right now. I'm not saying tonight. I'm saying take out your phones right now. And you have 20 seconds. 20 seconds to send a message to someone that needs to hear that you're grateful for them, that you care about them, and say it. Because you think you have this timeline to show appreciation and love and gratitude, but you really don't. Now, there's 2 ways that I look at say it now and living with urgency. There's one, letting people know who I care about and who I love, letting them know that they know that I love them. But there's also letting the people around us know that they matter. Because all of us are just walking around wondering if we matter. All of us, every single one in here. We all wonder what our purpose is. We all wonder what our value is. And about 10 months ago, I was at a grocery store line. If anyone in here knows H-E-B, it's the best grocery store in the world in Texas. And I was holding my baby. My son was there rapping to Eminem. That's a whole other story for another day. And we're checking out, and this cashier, the bagger of my bag, she was bagging my groceries, and I talk to everybody. You can ask my family. I talk to a wall. And I'm talking to her, and I'm asking her, like, what's your name? What are you doing? What's your life goals? As she's bagging all my food. And she tells me, well, you see, my family tells me that I can't go to college because no one has gone to college. My family tells me that all I'm destined to be is a bagger. I'm destined to say H-E-B. They've got great benefits. They've got great this. And she goes down this list. And I'm at the time very frantic because my son's rapping to Eminem. I have a screaming baby, and I get this feeling once again to just let her know that I believe in her. And I look at her and I say, but why can't you go to college? Like, I think you can. Why can't you go do something more than be the grocery store bagger at H-E-B? And she looked up at me, and I'm just a stranger. Now, I didn't think much about that moment after, to be honest. We spoke a little bit. I told her a simple phrase of, no, I believe in you. I believe that you can go do this. I know you can. And I didn't really think about that moment. Till 2 months ago, I'm back at H-E-B. And a girl comes running towards me as I'm holding my 2 boys again. And she says, I've been looking for you. I haven't been here because I'm now bagging and doing things at nighttime because I enrolled in Lone Star Community College and I'm about to start my 2nd semester. I want to go get a degree in business, and I don't know what I want to do, but I'm doing what you said, and I'm just doing it right now. That was a moment that I didn't even think about after I said that, and it changed the trajectory of that young woman's life. So I want you to understand that when you live with urgency, you realize that the people that we look at in this room, I'm so proud and grateful to be standing here with you today. And you matter. Your goals matter. Your dreams matter. And I urge you to start working on them now, because I don't want you to go through the wake-up calls that I went to help me realize that our timeline is not infinite, but that we can indeed, if we live a life with urgency, if we stop waiting, if we do it scared, and if we just tell the people that we love, or even tell the person next to you that they do have purpose, that we can indeed change the world right here from this very room. Thank you.
Because she's not waiting. She is not waiting. And I love your idea about sending a text too. We need to tell those that we love them, and we do not need to wait. So you tell Bianca right now how much you just loved what she just said. And how much it means to you.
Thank you.
Extremely meaningful.
Thank you
for
Thank
sharing
you so
your
much.
life with
Thank
us.
you.
Wow.